welcome to my channel. I'm Zodiac Bandit, and today we're going to be talking about something super spoily from Campaign 3 of Critical Role, so if you aren't caught up, I recommend clicking off. If you haven't seen this spoiler yet, I'm shocked. It's literally everywhere, which is why it's in the thumbnail and the title, but I guess the reason why isn't in the thumbnail or the title. And if you still haven't clicked off, that's your fault. Moving on to the actual video now. So with the spoiler warning out of the way, we can now talk about the actual video, which is, what is Sam Riegel's next character going to be for Campaign 3? Now, some of you are probably saying, didn't you already talk about this? And the answer is yes, I briefly talked about it in the last video, where I gave 3 sort of predictions or ideas that Sam could use for his next character in Campaign 3, and those 3 were Taryon Darrington, Scanlan, and a new Kobold Paladin character. But after that video came out, I saw a million comments, and it wasn't actually a million, but I saw a ton of comments talking about other ideas that other people had, and I kind of want to talk about those. And I thought that would be a lot of fun to do today, so I'm going to do that. So there's a couple of ones I'm going to talk about that I think don't necessarily work or can't happen or whatever, and then other ones that I do really like and I do think could work really well. So let's get into the video. The first character I want to talk about Sam potentially being able to play is FCG. Now, some of you might be confused because FCG is dead, and that's the whole reason we're talking about this. Well, there could be a few things that could be done for FCG to come back, whether it be as the FCG we know and love, the small little robot, or in a different body. Because Fern could cast Reincarnate. She is high enough level where she can cast a spell. All they have to do is find the material components, and bam, as long as it's within the next 10 days, FCG could be back in whatever form either Matt picks or the dice roll decides, because there's a dice roll table for it. So realistically, he could come back in a different form, unless he doesn't want to. That is part of the spell where if someone chooses to not come back, or if their soul isn't free, they don't. The spell fails. So realistically, the only thing getting in the way of this spell working is Sam. If Sam doesn't want FCG to come back, whether it be he decides that the soul is not free or that he just doesn't want to, that's up to Sam. And I think that's totally fair, because I feel like doing this might cheapen the whole sacrifice thing to begin with. It'll cheapen the entire thing, and it might not be, just at all what Sam wants. Sam might want to move on from this character. They've had like a full arc of, feeling like they had to follow other people and do other things, like what that other people wanted them to do, and then they sort of found a god that sort of guided them, and then at the end they said that they're connected in blood, wire, wood, everything was connecting them, and they felt alive, and they went out protecting their friends, when at the beginning of the story we learned that they were the ones who killed their previous friends. So I think it's a very nice little story arc that FCG had, from going from beginning to end, and is now protecting the people, sacrificing himself and only himself so the rest of his troop can get away instead of him being the only survivor. I think that is a beautiful story that FCG has told, and to sort of reincarnate would ruin this a little bit. I do think that, because they've earned the strength that they have, it is slightly earned, but, I'm not a big fan of resurrection magic in the first place. I feel like there needs to be a lot of a hampering on it, and there might be with how reincarnate works and Matt's revival spells. I'm not too sure. But I do think it would be a little cheap to sort of do this. The other way that they could bring back FCG is by going on a longer quest, because it seems like we are sort of destined to go to Aeor at some point. So if the party goes to Aeor, and then they grab Dancer, Imahari Joe, and Devexian, or D, the 3 of them could sort of work together and figure out how to bring back FCG back in their robotic form. And I think that would be a lot more earned. To bring these characters to Aeor, protect them as they sort of research and do more stuff in Aeor, and then eventually able to bring back FCG, that feels a lot more fulfilling to me. So if Sam wanted to come back as FCG in that moment, that would be much more preferred than the reincarnate, in my opinion. So the next 2 aren't actually characters that we've met before in the past or anything like that, and they're just characters that or character classes that some of you mentioned that I thought were really good. The first one is Divine Soul Sorcerer, because that would make up for the healing gap that needs to be there. So while I think that's a good way to sort of go with the healing aspect, there's already 2 sorcerers on the team, and I don't know if Sam would want to do that again. He already struggles with the idea of people having signature spells, so for him to come in and be using the same sorcery points as other people, they might feel like signatures to them, and he won't want to use them. It's a thing that Sam, for whatever reason, has. I don't know why he has this issue. He didn't use any of the significant cleric spells that he could have, like Spiritual Guardians. He used once. He very rarely used Spiritual Weapon. He only just started using Toll the Dead. So realistically, he didn't use any of the really good abilities or magic spells from the cleric list, and I feel like this same thing would happen if there's two other people playing sorcerer on the table already. So while I think it's a good idea to sort of make up for that healing gap, I don't think it's going to happen. The other one, which is one I like a lot more, which was someone said that Sam should play a Beastmaster Ranger, and then I sort of added to it and said they should name them Vix, because that would be a great troll for Liam and Laura, and that's just all it would be. That's simply all it would be. He would just be trolling the shit out of Laura. He'd be trolling the shit out of Liam, and I think that would be really cool and really funny. So yeah, I like that idea. That is one of the worst classes of all time. Even with the updates they had, it's still kind of shit. So it would be a terrible class for them to use. But, you know, a little bit more magic on their side, a little bit more melee damage or physical damage on their side as well. So I think that wouldn't be a terrible idea. I just think if you're going to play Ranger, don't play Beastmaster. So now there are 3 more ideas that I saw pop up a few times that I kind of want to talk about. And they're all returning characters or characters who we've met in one of the campaigns at some point in time. And I think that these would work really well, much like the Terry and Scanlan returns, except for one. And I'm going to talk about that one first, which was Liliana. So a lot of people, I saw it a few times, which was kind of shocking, said that Sam could play Liliana to sort of fill in that motherly role and to sort of take over for Matt. There are a couple issues with this. Liliana knows way too much, and she would be way too strong in my opinion. If Odahan was where she was and like Liliana is even like remotely close to that, that is way too powerful of a character. So realistically, they would have to like significantly weaken her in some form or fashion for Sam to play her. And again, she has way too much information. It would feel really scripted for Sam to play the character, be handed all of this information that he'd have to read, and then, yeah, we have this massive like exposition dump of what they know. And based on how the last episode ended with Liliana's character, it's not possible. She stayed on Ruidus and elected to be like the informant for Imogen, and I feel like that is a much better place for Liliana. So realistically, Liliana staying there is a much better place for her as opposed to her becoming Sam. You know, I just feel like that is a little weird and would be a little too convenient for the players. And the next one is Luke Bernardo, and a lot of people suggested this one. I think this was either number 1 or number 2 in the most like suggested ones that I went through in the comment section. And I think a lot of people like this more because Luke Bernardo is a much younger character. For those who don't know, Luke Bernardo is Sam's Campaign 2 character's son. So that is really cool, really interesting idea. However, they're like 10. Like Luke is like 10 years old. And the last time we saw him, he was fighting with the Mighty Nine against Trent Ickathon. So while he could easily be the same level as the rest of the party now, because he would have gotten like the experience from fighting Trent Ickathon, because Trent Ickathon is a monster of a wizard or a sorcerer, whatever the heck he was. So for him to be, you know, powerful like level 13 isn't too much of a stretch for me, in my opinion. So it's possible. The only issue that I see with it, if they elect to do any more like Mighty Nine one-shots, Sam would likely want to stick with Luke being there unless he's going to bring Veth back, which would feel weird based on how the last one sort of went. So who knows? But I can see the possibility of Luke, and I like the idea, but I also think Luke is probably going to stick with the Mighty Nine. And this is the last character we're going to be talking about for Sam's potential new characters, and this is the one that I like the most. Out of anything that I suggested and anything you all suggested, this is the one I like the most. It carries on the story from Campaign 1 and how Campaign 1 sort of references or gets referenced a lot in Campaign 3 and how they're connected and how like all of the like the main players of Campaign 1 have shown up with the exception of literally 2. Only 2 of them haven't shown up yet. Well, technically 3 if you include Terry. But only those ones like Grog, Scanlan, and Terry haven't shown up yet out of the entirety of Vox Machina. And realistically, this character facilitates a role of Scanlan, but isn't Scanlan and can be totally her own. And that's Scanlan's daughter, Kaylee. I think this is a brilliant idea, and the fact that I didn't think about it makes me so mad, but I am very happy a lot of you did, because this is brilliant. Because this way, Kaylee can try to sort of live up to the, you know, potential that her father had and join the group and feel important and sort of do what her father did, but technically on a bigger scale, because now instead of just protecting Exandria from a god, we're protecting the gods from a god killer. So realistically, I feel like Kaylee would hop all over the idea of doing something similar to her father, but on a bigger scale so she could rub it into his face. I think that is totally something Kaylee would do. Not to mention this would be a healer, because a bard has a lot of heals, especially the best healing spell that isn't like revival, healing word, because there's distance to that spell and that makes it the best by default. And just the idea that Sam could play a bard again, but it not be Scanlan, would be nice and refreshing. I know there was at least 2 people in the comments who said they really didn't want Sam to play Scanlan again, and I think playing Kaylee is a brilliant compromise. It is a bard who can heal and gives Sam the idea or the capability of playing a singing-based character again, because it's clearly something he wants to do. In a lot of his ad reads, he has some sort of singing or some sort of improv, which was all Scanlan was. He was improv and singing, and Kaylee could facilitate that so perfectly well, and I feel like she would fit the Bell's Hells really, 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 really well. So I kind of want to see her join the group. So, yeah, Kaylee, in my opinion, is the best character that Sam could play if he's going to grab one from the past. So there you have it. These are all your suggestions to who Sam Riegel could play next in Campaign 3. So yeah, I very much enjoyed these suggestions. I remember reading through them the first time going, holy shit, you guys are way smarter than me. And I very much enjoy the idea of Kaylee coming into the group, because it facilitates the Scanlan character and it lets Sam sing, it lets Sam be improv-y, and it's a spell set that Sam is very familiar with from Campaign 1, so I feel like he wouldn't struggle with the whole signature spell idea thing, because, I mean, Kaylee is Scanlan's daughter. She can steal his shit. I think that makes sense to me. So yeah, thank you guys for your suggestions for the characters, and I have one final ask surrounding this whole Sam Riegel FCG death thing, and that is simply, what is your favorite FCG moment? And could you put the episode number in with your comment? Because I want to make a best moments of FCG video to sort of wrap up the whole, Sam Riegel FCG storyline, because that needs to happen to have us sort of go over everything and sort of enjoy a bunch of scenes. I might not talk through that video. I know some people don't like that, but I just want to see what your guys' favorite FCG moments are, and then I will make a video compiling all of those together so we can sort of enjoy FCG for the potential last time. So yeah, I don't want it to be very sad, so I'll end it there. I'll see you guys on Tuesday for whatever video I make next. Nope, it is Tuesday. I will see you guys on Friday for whatever video I make next. Peace.